What are the basic things to have before applying for tenancy? Oh, wow. Finances are key. Definitely need to have your finances sorted or having somewhere where you can get finances from. So for us, Oxbury Bank came in handy for us. We got our loan through Oxbury Bank, and because having the farm wasn't a plan for year one. It was probably more year five for us. So when it happened in sort of year one and a half, we had to just go along with it. And luckily, having Oxford there with their new gen program helped us a lot. And obviously, still working full time for myself and Nikki, that helped too. Other things you need to have before applying: your business plan, obviously, knowing what you're going to do on the farm you're applying for, a good cash flow, that projects a few years, not just the first year, because obviously a lot of the times with new businesses, the first year is normally a struggle. And then I would say any assets you've got, if you're going from a farm already or going from home, let's say, and you've got any assets, you chuck them into your application as well. Um, I can't think of anything else. Well, a grasp of farming will be a good start as well, but I'm assuming anyone looking to go for a tenancy, you have some knowledge of farming. What do you see is the future of farming? That's a big question that can't be answered quickly. Um, I'd, in short, there is a future for farming, regardless whether farmers aren't getting paid enough now or at the moment, regardless whether supermarkets are doing their best to cripple farmers or government is doing its best not to support farmers. People have to eat, full stop. Whether it's farmers in the UK or in Kenya or in India, wherever across the world, farming will always exist, full stop. What is the biggest learning point from the first half year and one thing you would do differently? I would say not to spread myself too thin, because the excitement of coming to a new farm, seeing all sorts of opportunities I could do, I somehow thought I had 30 hours in a day instead of 24. And obviously in the summer we have long hours. So I think I remember the turning point for me one day was I was fencing till um till 11 o'clock at night. I remember video calling my mum and dad, and they were like, "Oh, have you finished work now?" And I was still out in the field fencing, because I was getting pigs the week after or something, and I came home and Nikki had already gone to bed, and I was excited about being self-employed so I can control my time, and at the moment I don't seem like I'm controlling my time, and yeah, since then it gets to a point in the day I'm like, okay, I'm done for the day. I'll do whatever's left to do tomorrow. And as if any farmer's watching, there's always a job to do on the farm. So there's no day you're gonna finish work and say I finished everything. So it's just a case of having lists for the week or for the day, getting those jobs done, and then moving on to the next day. So for me, biggest learning point to the first half, and one thing I'd change is definitely my time management. Do you think this was the right size plot of land to start on, and would you have preferred bigger or smaller? Yes, I do think it's the right size of land to start with, because I've never looked after a farm on my own. I've always worked as part of a bigger farm, or the looking after pigs has always been an enterprise on the farm that I've been on. And I've always either had other people, sort of line managers or managers, that I answered to. So this was my first time where if anything goes left, it's on me. And initially we'd gone for a farm that was 99 acres, and I'm glad we didn't get that because that would have probably been too much. So yes, for me, 61, nice little size. I can walk around the whole farm in a day. Well, in a day, I can walk around the farm in like 20 minutes without stopping too much to look at new things like plants and trying to identify bugs and worms. Um, and I think it's a nice enough size to to start our enterprises on for us to build on to an exercise. I also wouldn't want a farm that's too big. I'd say in future probably 100 acres max, because I have other interests. I don't want to just be on the farm for the rest of my life. Like, I enjoy farming, but I also enjoy cooking. I also enjoy doing public speaking. I also enjoy, um, let's say, doing events off farm. So I don't want to have a farm too big that I always have to be there. Yes, I could employ people in future, but for me, I think without being greedy, yeah, something like around 100 acres, that would be nice for me or for us. Nikki, now, what's been the best piece of advice you've taken on board, and the piece of advice you wish you'd listened to? Best piece of advice I've taken on board. I think a friend of mine, I can't remember who, telling me that you can't do everything. You you'll always have the next day to do something that you haven't done today. And I'd say the piece of advice I wish I'd listened to would be, um, not to get sheep. Nah. Yeah, I can't think of anything I wish I'd listened to, because a lot of the time I'm the sort of person that I know what I know, and if I don't know something or I'm unsure of something, I'll ask. And I'm proud, but I'm not too proud that I can't take on advice. So I'm more of a sponge than not. So anything I hear or read, I always just take it in. I might use it, I might not, but I think our brains have the capacity to take on way more than we do already. So yeah, I don't think there's many things advice wise that I've not taken or listened to. But yeah, the sheep one, maybe, if I have to have an answer for that. How much of a consideration is the subsidy system for your long term projections and resilience as a business? Ooh. Someone asking this had seen my disgruntled tweets about the subsidy systems. So I think subsidies, and for people that aren't farmers or in the UK, subsidies in this country mean that farmers get given money by the government to do certain things to improve the environment, let's say, or to improve water courses, or woodland. But the hidden thing about that is farming, unlike other businesses, is supported by the subsidies. Fundamentally, that's because food is cheap here in the UK. So if farmers weren't subsidized, a lot of farms won't be viable. So they need the subsidies to make the farm viable. And it's got to a point now, and if I've got that explanation there wrong, please comment and correct me. But it's got to a point now in this country, England, where you get paid more money to do things that aren't farming for food. So you'd get paid more money to plant, or to leave parts of your land wild for wildlife. You'd get more money for planting wildflowers than you would for planting wheat or barley or growing other crops or having pigs or chickens. So I think it's a flawed system, because yes, if there is money there for government to subsidize farms to do good for the environment, that would be good. But it shouldn't be in place of farmers getting paid the right amount for what they're producing for people to eat. Because it's not like farmers are growing wheat for their own health. We're growing wheat to feed people, to feed animals. And to be told you're not going to get paid what you should be paid, even cost of production or above cost of production, for your main job. So you're having to do another job or to be subsidized another way to get a living. That's madness for me. And personally, I tried to sort of get apply some of these subsidies, and one of the things was that because I'm a tenant and I've not received another type of subsidies, which is being phased out, basic payment scheme, I couldn't apply for this. It's called sustainable farming incentive, And I'm thinking, I've only had the farm 7 months or 6 months. How can I have had BPS before? And there's just so many hoops to jump, and half of them, to me personally, I think it's nonsense. Like, if I can work hard enough to do something I enjoy to earn money, I'd rather do that. If I can work hard enough to make money to then do good for the environment off my own back, I'd rather do that. But having to jump hoops to be told, jump here, do this to get a bit of money, sometimes not even worth it. I'd rather not bother, to be honest. Are you, or do you feel limited by tenancy terms? No, I don't think so. Hampshire County Council, or Hampshire County Farms, are our landlords or landladies. Don't know which way to put that. And yeah, the terms are there. I don't think they're limiting. If I have any questions, I just call the office, or I speak to people that we deal with, say, this is what I'm thinking of doing, what do you think? And talk about it. And if it's possible, it's possible. If it's not, it's not. But so far, I've not felt limited by any of the tenancy terms, luckily. Did you get support from the council beyond the tenancy itself? Yes, I think we did. From little things like moving to the area, we didn't sort of know history about the area, so being given contacts of sort of local, be it police officers, be it local farmers, to ask what's the area like, blah blah blah. Yeah, so I'd say yes, we did get support beyond the tenancy itself. What have been your biggest surprises during 6 months, good or bad? I'd say good surprises. I think there's pockets of the farm that when we first came to have a look, I didn't sort of see, and then every time I go for a walk, I'm like, oh, this is quite a nice spot. You can see the sunset or sunrise in a particular way. Um, I'd say um, finding sort of little things like plants that I didn't think existed here, or even like there's an app called the name there's an app called Seek, and you can identify plants and sort of insects and worms and stuff with it. So whenever I go for a walk on the farm, reading up about the area and finding out what's normally seen here and what's not seen here, sometimes seeing a few creatures that you didn't expect to see, they've been quite nice surprises. Bad surprises, a few bits left here and there by previous people that have been here. It's a bit annoying, a bit of rubbish lying around, which I'm gonna have to spend days tidying up, even weeks. But when we took on the farm, we knew it was gonna be in a particular state. Some parts need TLC, so you take the good with the bad, I'd say. What would your one piece of advice be to yourself 12 months ago? Apply for the bank loan earlier than you think you should, because it got pretty tight, because we needed to pay for the hog roast and the money hadn't gone in, and yeah, that was quite scary. But Oxford Bank pulled through, and yeah, we managed to get the the hog roast business. So yeah, anyone going for a tenancy and you're looking to get a loan, get it as early as you can, as early as the terms allow, because you don't want to be finding things you need to buy and you're there waiting for money to go in. It's quite frustrating. What do you know now that you wish you'd known 6, 7 months ago before you started? Uh, I know that this area receives a lot of rainfall. I guess it's actually the whole UK recently has been getting a lot of rain, but the amount of rain that we've had here has just been insane. Luckily, we don't have that many pigs, and I can just keep moving them from paddock to paddock. But if we were at full capacity, I think it would not have been a good situation to be in. So that's something I can or we can plan for future that however many pigs we have, when it comes to winter, we need to make sure our numbers are at a point where we can rotate them around the fields enough so that they're not being in mud for too long. Are you getting a price that allows you to produce great food and protect nature and animal welfare? If so, how? I would say so far, yes. Um, because or the how answer or the yeah, the answer for the how there is we sell direct to customers, and also we sell mainly through our hog roast business. So the money I get from the hog roast business off a pig, there's not many places, actually nowhere, would pay that wholesale, or even direct to customer. So it's being able to find a niche that we're fulfilling and sticking in that niche and not trying to chase like the bigger contracts, which I'm not interested in per se because I don't want to go that big. Like I said, I've got other interests other than farming. So I'd just like to be able to supply a local a local community, or even local farm shops or restaurants, and supply our hog roast business and local families. Other than that, yeah, I'm not, or we're not here to chase the big contract or supermarkets. Actually, from a supermarket perspective, the way things are going with supply chain fairness and how farmers aren't being paid properly, I would rather quit farming than supply supermarkets, unless they change the way they treat farmers and pay farmers in this country. Other than that, you would never catch me selling to a supermarket. No way. Do you have a good slaughter and processing facilities nearby? Oh, this is a tricky one. Answer to the nearby bit is no, because we've got two abattoirs near us here. One is probably about just over an hour away. They don't deliver to the farm shop where I work. The other one that's about an hour and a half away on a good day, they deliver back to the farm shop where I work. They're a good abattoir, good handling of the animals, and I take them there. Nice clean facility. And regarding processing facilities, I'm quite lucky that the farm shop where I work, I'm allowed to butcher my own animals when I'm not working. So, sort of on days that I'm off, I'd call up and say, "Oh, when it's not busy, can I pop in and just chop up a pig or whatever?" And they allow me to do that, which I'm very grateful of, because for me, I see it as it's also training which I get better at, so that when I go back to work, I'm better at butchery. My speed is increasing slowly. And then when I'm making sausages, they also made at work, either when I'm working, when I'm not working. And hoping in the near future we can have our own butchery facilities on the farm, which will make life a bit easier. Is it profitable? 6 months in, um, I'd say from a hog roast perspective, yes. The cost of the cost of the machine, the business we bought, and the money we made doing events paid. Um, I paid for the machine, paid for the business we bought. So on that front, yes, it's profitable. The sheep enterprise, no. I've lost more sheep than I've sold, and spent money on worming and sending them to be incinerated when they've died because of worms. So the sheep side, no. The goats, yes, the goats have been profitable. Yeah, I think overall, including income from sort of working part time, 6 months in, I know it's early days. 6 months in, I think, yeah, yeah, we're in the green. We're not in the red, but like I said, it's too early to say. But yeah, it's working, and the fact that what we can see works at such a small scale after a few tweaks, it's just multiplying it. If we get bigger, just doing the same thing and multiplying it. I know it's not going to be as simple as that, but so long as the core, like the skeleton, is working and it's producing a green bottom line, I'll just extrapolate it and keep doing the same thing like that, but a bit bigger. Did you find it hard to secure finances? I've answered that. No, I went with Oxbury Bank, and they're not paying me to keep mentioning them, but that's just who I went with. Where do you go for advice and information, and how can the academic community be more of use to you as a farmer? I'm quite lucky that I've got a lot of mentors, a lot of friends in the industry and outside the industry, because I like finding advice from people that know nothing about farming. Because if I can find advice from like people that, let's say, like an engineer, like I've got a friend, Lindan, who's an engineer, he came to help me a few times on the farm, and talking to him, and he would look at how I'm doing something. He said, "Why don't you do it like this?" He's not looking at it from a farmer's perspective. He's looking at it from an engineer's perspective. I can always learn from people from different industries, chefs. My dad is a scientist, mum's a nurse, and yeah, so I get advice from all sorts of people. Like I said earlier, I'm a sponge. I'm happy to ask anyone. If you know something that I don't, then I'll take advice. And how can academic community be more of use to a farmer? I think I like the amount of the work academics do when when it comes to agriculture. But the thing sometimes I struggle with is that a lot of the findings that come out sometimes, a lot of the times they're sort of in a controlled setting, which is fine because you have to start somewhere. But by the time it comes out to the farmer or to me as a farmer, and you're telling me X, Y, Z, blah, 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 I'm like, okay, well, is that going to work on the farm? Because if not, you're wasting my time. And how the controlled environment stuff or the lab stuff can be made similar to what happens on farm, and then the farmers can get it. For me, that is how the academic community can be more of use to a farmer. Like, there's no good telling me results of something that was in a perfect condition, because when you're walking out in the field and it's blowing a hoolie, you've got pigs running around everywhere, they've gone onto a railway track and all sorts is happening. That's not a controlled environment. So I think maybe some studies should be done in uncontrolled environments and see what we come up with. The last question is again about government rules and regulations, which they just bore me, because I feel like there's just so many. There seem to be every year there seems to be more and more rules being put in for the farmer, but when you look beyond the farm gate and you look up the supply chain, some of the rules don't seem to, or some parts of the supply chain don't seem to have these rules, or farmers would go through hell trying to make sure they're doing things to the letter. Then when you get to selling your product, no one gives a shit about what you've done. They pay you what they want anyway. So I think for the whole thing to work with government rules and regulations and your assurances, there needs to be some respect from the farm all the way up to the top. Otherwise, we're just ticking boxes and wasting time, and people are just in jobs waiting to earn pensions for doing nothing, in my opinion. But yeah, that's my rough 6-7 months experience as a tenant farmer. Come up to April next year when we've done a year, we'll see how we go. I might do another one. Thank you so much for listening, and yeah, any more questions or any advice you've got to give me, please put it in the comments. Happy 2024 to all of you.